What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is StoneMount64, and this is episode 3 of Jet Lessons. I've been talking a lot about the Xbox One controls and button layouts. I don't know the translation over to the PlayStation. I definitely don't know them to PC. But these things definitely do apply. Not maybe every button push goes over to the PC, but a lot of what I'm talking about definitely does. So hopefully you guys have been getting a lot out of that. In this episode, though, we've talked a lot about steering, a lot about, the stealth versus attack jets, how to get into the jets. Now you know how to fly it relatively well. So I want to get a bit more into the loadouts and then actually staying on your targets and getting kills, because that's where most people have the struggle, but you have to have that framework in place of knowing how to steer from those previous few episodes. So if you haven't checked those out, links will be in the description down below. But in this one, let's start out taking a look at the class loadouts. I want to go through all of these with you guys. So you start out with the 20mm. This is weak rounds, but they shoot really fast, right? I have them all unlocked. I actually like the 25mm the best. It's just, at least for this one, for the attack jets, it's a bit different, but obviously you only have the 30mm, but the 30mm on the attack jet shoots very, very quickly. When you're using the 30mm on the stealth jets, it just feels like it's a very slow rate of fire, and because of that, you're not putting out as many rounds. You don't have as many opportunities to get hits on them. So I think the 25 is a good balance for me. Try out both of them. Let me know, or try it out on your own and use whatever works best for you. Now, the secondary, I have to say, the active radar missiles are insanely powerful. You get in a closer range situation with them, and you shoot out, and you pretty much are guaranteed to lock on, especially if you're that close. Most people don't react in time with their flares if you get in, a relatively close range. This doesn't even require you to lock on. You just shoot it out, and as long as you're aiming in the right direction, or if it's close to it, it'll automatically acquire the lock and get on target, right? So that's an excellent radar. The passive radar is all right. You have to maintain your lock the entire time. Most people are going to flare. You're going to lose that opportunity. Even if you reacquire the lock, usually flares last long enough, but it's definitely a viable option. I wouldn't say as good as the active radar missiles, though. The laser guided is decent, but in the stealth jet, I wouldn't use them, to be honest. You're most likely going to be going up against air vehicles, and this is going to be targeting your tanks and those types of things, whereas you're really going to be wanting to combat helicopters and those types of things in this type of vehicle, right? So the heat seekers are what you're going to start out with, though, and acquiring your locks with this is, it's pretty easy, but what you really want to do here is acquire your lock, wait for them to flare, and then after they've flared, shoot it out. You can even shoot one missile to try and draw out those flares if they're still not flaring, but that's the best sort of tactic for this. You'll see a lot of people, and that's the thing too we'll talk about in the defensive episode, is when somebody's locking you, you don't flare until the missile's actually coming at you, and you have to flare immediately once that missile starts coming at you, because if they're really close, like I was just talking about with this active radar, the missile's going to connect before you have the opportunity to flare, especially if they're already close. The flares won't have enough time to react. So heat seekers are good to start with. Eventually, though, I would definitely say switch up to that active radar. The next one, the countermeasure. Now, this is pretty interesting. The ECM jammer cuts off a few seconds. It's actually longer in Battlefield 4, at least I've noticed. The flares take longer to reload. I think it's about 25 seconds. The ECM jammer is about 22. The ECM lasts slightly shorter period of time than the flares as well. The flares kind of leaves that trail out longer. It's harder to reacquire the lock. Honestly, you can go with either of these. I prefer the flares. ECM jammer is also a little bit more stealthy, right? You're not going to be giving your location away quite as much with the entire flare system you put out, but I just prefer the flares, and that's what you're going to start with. The fire extinguishers, okay. Once you take mortal damage, you can put the fire out and then get your jet repairing itself. Before, in Battlefield 3, it was at 30 health. You had to use that, and then it would start reviving your health, because once you got below 30, you just started bleeding out, and your jet, you had to eject, right? There's something around there. And then so I would prefer the flares. The upgrade, this is an interesting one, right? The belt feeder allows you to reload your primary weapon quicker, which is always a very nice thing. What I found, at least in air superiority, is that the Gyro Stapler is very nice, because essentially what that does is once you get hit by a missile, this will allow you, in Battlefield 4, it's different mechanics, right? Once you get hit by a missile, your systems go offline for a short period of time, you lose control, and you can crash. That's why you see a lot of these helicopter guys crashing lately after just getting hit by one missile. They're flying low, know they'll get taken down. The same thing is true with this. You can go into buildings very easily, and it's hard to maintain your control. Again, air superiority. I really like Gyro Stapler. A close trade-off is going to be, though, that other option. I accidentally just clicked away. A close trade-off is going to be the belt feeder, though. The stealth coating, I wouldn't really recommend, especially because of the fact that you have this active radar now. I mean, it makes it longer for people to lock on. Not really that great. And then the proximity scan reveals vehicles around you and enemy movement on the maps. Decent, but again, I'd prefer the Gyro Stapler. It's situational, though. I would say the upgrade is probably the most situational. Then the paint obviously doesn't really matter. So let's go over to the attack jet. I want to run you through that one briefly here. Now, you only have the 30mm cannon, but this one shoots incredibly fast and is super powerful. This thing lays waste to a lot of different things, even ground vehicles. Now, I haven't unlocked all of these. Unfortunately, I don't really use this very much because of the fact that it's not an air superiority and everybody fights for it. I just kind of say, forget it. I like the stealth jets anyways. I didn't use this very much because it was only in Rush in Battlefield 3, but you got the heat seekers, the JDAM bomb, which I've seen this thing kill some pretty good stuff, but it's super hard to use. The TV guided missile, obviously good. This is better on the attack helicopter, though. I have used this at my friend's house, all of these different things, so I'll give you some of my feedback here. The Hydra Rockets are pretty good. But, you know, I mean, it says it's good against infantry, but it's very hard to actually get those shots on. It's got the bigger explosions. You can shoot them out very accurately. But you know what? The laser-guided missile is kind of what this is meant for, right? At the same time, though, the damage is weak on it. So you have some options here. The Hydra Rockets are probably going to be your best. This is kind of more just a for fun one, I would say. The TV-guided missiles are very powerful, but you have to be accurate with it. And on the Xbox One, it is so hard to control the TV missiles that honestly, it's not even worth it. If you're on PC, TV missiles are probably going to be your best option because you can put some serious damage into tanks. The laser-guided missiles have very slow reload time. It takes a long time to get more ammo in the tank. It's just, you know, it's not an ideal situation on the secondary and this in general, but the primary gun's very good. So again, laser-guided is probably going to be your best option if you're going against ground. Heat Seekers are all right against air. Again, this would be an opportunity to use the stealth upgrade if you're going up against a really good attack jet who's using Heat Seekers because they don't have the active shots. So those are your kind of options for that. The Countermeasure, same thing. Flares are probably going to be your best. Same thing with that. And so now let's actually go into some gameplay here and get into the jet. So we're going to go into the F-35 again, the stealth jet. I also like this one so much because it's got that booster. I don't like being able to maintain my speed only by using the left and right triggers on the attack jet. So I don't know, I just prefer the stealth jet in general. And the active missiles are so fun to use. So, alright, let's get into this a bit. I guess I'll start on advancing your steering a little bit more. It's pretty cool too. You can see the bottom, the missiles there sticking out. And then if you switch it back to your main gun, but just by pushing Y, the missiles come out. It's a small thing a lot of people don't notice, but yeah, let's start with advancing your skills on aiming. So first off, last time I talked about those veteran controls, right? This time we're going to get a bit more advanced with it and use that left stick. Like I was talking about for our precision aiming, the reason we're using veteran is on that left stick you can get that little bit of precision aiming, and this is where it comes into play. First thing you're going to need to know though is how to actually aim with this bad boy. And I'll go ahead and turn right here. So I split up all of these circles. That big circle with the little tiny dot in the middle, that is where you are aiming. So I'll start shooting it now as well. So you might be able to see that a little bit. Maybe I'll pull it a little bit lower, but that dot in the middle, that's where you have to aim. And this is difficult to see on your TV, I'm sure, or even a monitor if you use that. So the key thing is just try and line it up. It's not those other crosshairs. It's literally that little tiny point in the middle of the circle. Not very good system, I know, but that's just how it works in this game. And you can see me kind of tilting, using that left stick to move myself just a little bit more to the side, and then using the right stick up and down to get a little bit better precision aiming. That way I'm not trying to go like this and make major turns using the right stick only in that situation. So it gives you a little bit better precision, and allows you to get that minute aiming. Now, that's going to take some practice to really get down and maneuvering yourself to keep yourself on target. But the biggest thing after that is being able to stay on your target's tail. And that's why you've got to have that advanced kind of skill of that turning that I was going over in the last episode. But your main goal really when you're chasing your guy is to stay far enough. Well, they don't really have an extreme break to pull back, but you want to stay on him, so the boost is going to help you if he tries getting away. The biggest thing is, though, when he goes into a turn, you're going to want to capitalize on that opportunity. You have to aim ahead a little bit and kind of get your shots on with that, but keeping your wings at the same level as theirs is going to be your main priority here, right? You're going to want to be able to keep your wings aligned with theirs in the horizontal axis, so wherever they turn, you're always going to be following. So if they turn over to their side and they pull down, you're already on their side following that exact trail. Using your speed, the left and right trigger is going to be the biggest thing. If people can't control their speed, you're going to be able to stay on their tail very easily. And then, because if they start going for flips, you can have the tighter flips. You can always have the same amount of tightness in your flips as long as you maintain your speed, like I was talking about in that last episode. Also, by keeping your wings aligned with theirs, you're able to predict their movements, and wherever they move, you're able to make quick reactions. That's the biggest thing where people are going to shake you, is them reacting quicker and getting into that turn sooner than you do, which makes it delayed for you to get around that hook to follow him well enough. So having that fast reaction time, not actually having to think, okay, I need to tilt it to the left and then pull down or push forward, not having to think about that, and just having it as reflex and just as, you know, as simple as walking. You don't need to think about putting one foot in front of the other, you just walk. Needs to be the same thing where, okay, I need to do a tight turn, and you can incorporate your left stick into your turn as well to try and help get a little bit of extra movement to help stay on the guy's tail. That's another pretty advisable thing, is using that left stick to just give you a little bit of extra movement in terms of that left and right mechanism. So I think you guys are going to be pretty good staying on your target with the turning that we've kind of gone over. I think you're going to be able to get some shots on once you get some practice with aiming and being accurate with that, and really being able to connect with your shots. Like I said, this 25mm allows you to be a little bit more forgiving, and the faster reload might also be a beneficial thing to run as well. But hopefully this helped you guys out. Be sure to drop a like on the video if it did, and stick around for some more. Subscribe if you're new. You can check out the previous video to see my last one of these if you didn't see it already, and then the recommended for some YOLO on the battlefield for some epic Battlefield 4 stuff. That's a wrap for this episode, though. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. This is StoneMount64 signing out.